sharing a little bit of the context. We're sitting out here chilling on the land of TDF and kicking off a new project, which is starting to share some content, making some conversations with guests, maybe a little podcast format or whatever it turns into. And the idea is basically to bring out what people care about, what people's dreams and visions for the future are. Try to draw some lessons from their personal journeys, what they're currently working on or playing with. Let's see what emerges from the conversation.
Okay.
So maybe you want to share just briefly who you are?
I'm Tom from Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the West Highlands, in the middle of the mountains and wild coastline of the West Highlands of Scotland. I studied technology and worked in technology for 20 years in massive variety of industries: financial services, brewing, retail, engineering. I got exposure to a huge range of companies, and I flitted between that kind of professional life and travelling and passion projects such as constructing ecological homes, and I ran an adventure tourism business in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta in Colombia for 4 years from 2010. I have always had a strong magnetism for South America, and especially after living in Colombia, I was just always fascinated with that area. After working kind of back for the man, back in the matrix, kind of in the mid, kind of from 2014 onwards till about 2020, I then quit my job again and moved back to Colombia. During the last 4 years has been extremely challenging. It's been a difficult time, with pandemic and just huge economic changes, and I guess giving up the job and just trying to become an entrepreneur and getting into other businesses. I was involved in a cannabis cultivation in Colorado, which was an extraordinarily complex, difficult and risky enterprise that we survived. 60%, 65% of all cultivations gone bust in that state. We're still hanging on, but that was a huge distraction, a drain of energy. And I just kind of realised I was in this pattern of just chasing for money, wanting to have kind of adventurous businesses and not really following my purpose and following my true path. I came back to Colombia, and we, along with many friends, I've got a large network around the Sierra, we formed an alliance to regenerate the bioregion of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta. That mountain is the highest coastal mountain in the world.
Highest coastal mountain in the world.
It's over 6,000 meters next to the coast. So it's got the highest concentration of climatic zones in the world, and some of the highest biodiversity. Every temperature floor from the sea level up just gives different flora and fauna. It's pretty unique and irreplaceable ecosystem. We've been working, creating meetings, aligning with indigenous leaders, permaculturists, Web3 guys, community guys, campesinos, to try and pull this alliance together, and it's really been an incredible learning experience. We've helped to kind of resolve differences between the four tribes towards the shared goal of regeneration. The president of Colombia was meeting with the tribe that we'd aligned with literally 3 weeks ago in the village, where we just had a big meeting on regeneration. It's really interesting what's happening when you start to put a little bit of energy into something. Suddenly everyone's putting a little bit of energy into something, and the momentum just started building. So I'm flying back to Colombia on the 20th of October, and on the 21st of October, by pure coincidence, is the COP16 global conference on biodiversity. So a lot of the indigenous leaders from the kind of people that we've been aligning with, they're going to be at that conference, and in many ways those leaders are of higher authority than the president himself. They, in a spiritual manner and an authoritative manner, they have a lot of influence and a lot of credibility globally. it's an amazing tribe. That, I mean, just a little bit of their history, just to put it in perspective. When the Spanish arrived back in 1520, there was a period, obviously, of violence and disease and torture, as the Spanish did during the conquest. The indigenous escaped high up into the mountain. They hid there isolated for 500 years.
These were the 4 tribes, or was it multiple?
Well, there was one tribe that went up, and there's 4 tribes that have been born out of that. So they lived in harmony with nature for 500 years, and they consider nature to be a spiritual entity, and
Spiritual as in alive, sentient, conscious.
They every event that happens in nature has meaning, and they perform ceremonies at various energetic points around the Sierra. They have thousands of eswamas, they're called, which are spiritual energetic points.
Would that be like similar to the chakras of the land, something like
100%.
that?
Yeah, the Sierra Nevada is known to be the primary crossing point of all the energetic lines, fault lines crossing the world. They have these energetic points that have different purposes. So say there's one piece of land that is currently being brought back into the indigenous ownership, which is the land of alimentos, which is the land of food,
Yeah.
food to feed people. You have another one which is resolving conflicts, or poisoned water, or female fertility, or marital problems. They have different shwamas, these energetic points, for resolving different problems. Anyway, that's really a little bit of background into those tribes, and it's also interesting they are aligned with 12 other tribes in the Sierra Nevada, in the world, sorry.
In the world.
So they're kind of treating nature as a living entity. And so another part of what we're doing is we're working with legal teams to implement the rights of nature. That's a big element, actually, of the COP16 conferences, trying to enforce that, because it's all well and good we have laws to protect nature, but they're not really enforced, are they? Anyway, that's a little bit about what I've been doing the last few years.
I think you elaborated beautifully, because basically baked in a lot of the questions that I was keen on asking, like a little bit about who you are, and what you deeply care about, what your journey is, visions for the future. But I guess to make it explicit, what do you deeply care about?
I deeply care about communities and nature and adventure and love and family and health, wellness, having fun, challenges. I think there's so many tools out there for us that I'm just discovering at the age of 45 that I wish I'd known earlier, but it's so exciting.
What type of tools are we talking about?
Tools such as breath work and cold water and psychedelics and ceremonies around the fire, dancing, and just getting your hands in the soil,
Getting embodied,
growing things, learning about syntropic agriculture and how you can create resilient food systems. And here in TDF's been fascinating for me to see how well a community can have fun and deal with personal conflicts and really calm resolutions, and just the structure of keeping things going as a community, to cook and to clean and to get stuff done, to build things, to make the place more resilient and more abundant. So it's been really nice to see that. It's been inspiring. I've been it's really I know I'm not wasn't on my own in this, but sometimes entrepreneurship can be lonely, it's a lonely path sometimes. I kind of don't really feel alone after this week. It's been brilliant.
That's really good to hear. And I guess yet another time you nicely segued into a good topic for conversation, which is TDF, both what brought you here and what your experience have been like so far, any lessons or funny moments, yeah, and what you potentially want to bring back home. So yeah, what brought you here in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, as I was saying, I didn't really realise these kind of places existed, and if they were, I just thought they were kind of fairy hippie type places. And it kind of is like that, but it's kind of good. It wasn't planned to come here. I was travelling in Asturias. Asturias in northern Spain. I was with a friend in northern Spain. We were looking at some land up there. I'd like to have a base back in Europe. You know, with family being so important, Colombia is far. Definitely like to split my time with more in Europe and maybe just winters in Colombia. But anyway, so Simon, my good friend Simon Quarmby, who is heavily involved in the Alliance, he was a brilliant facilitator in a lot of the meetings we had, and he's just he was at the gathering of the tribes in the north of Portugal, which I unfortunately missed, but I heard it was about it. I just thought
there will be
coming
more.
south. Normally I came from Galicia to here in one go, which is a long drive down, which I wouldn't normally do, but I just thought I'll come and have a look, and I was only planning on spending a couple of days, and here I am 10 days later. It's been great.
Yeah. How do you feel like those 10 days have been like?
I've just met some people that have just opened my eyes to a better way of living and being, and being a better man without losing what it means to be a man, and that's been powerful. And just as I said, seeing the community function in a pretty harmonious manner.
Yeah, apropos, that's been an interesting thing to observe and experience for me as well. Like, so the community here is quite dynamic. A lot of people coming in, you know, and a lot of people going out. And yeah, a small but solid kernel of people staying and holding the ground. But it's like really dynamic. So a lot of a lot of new connections, and usually quite deep connections. And then a few days later, leaving. And
then new deep connections.
Yeah, and of course the social dynamics obviously always change with new people, but still there is something that seems to really work about the community here, despite it being so fluid. Any thoughts regarding?
Well, yeah, I think the dynamism actually, you know, I also am looking at procuring a piece of land in Colombia, and I'd like to set up my own regenerative village. It's really I've taken a lot of ideas from this. Particularly around the dynamism and it's kind of necessity of the dynamism. Yes, you want people bought in and staying here a long time, but we're all going to get pretty bored of each other if it's the same people all the time, isn't it? Having that blend of the kernel of long-standing people mixed with the dynamism is really valuable.
Any specific moments or experiences that stands out for you outside?
I mean, the sauna was interesting. You know, I went up. I kind of
got over there.
One of my little jobs was just fixing a new bench in the sauna, and
right.
And I'm not scared of getting naked, but I just automatically went in with my shorts on, you know, and I just thought, oh, I was standing in my shorts, and I suddenly realised I was the only one with the shorts on.
Yeah.
I loved the relaxed nature of the whole thing, and people's sense of freedom to be that way, and for women to feel safe and to be still just really social in that environment. I thought that was a beautiful thing. It was really cool. I guess it's just not something I'm used to. It's kind of like the way that it should be. It's the way I thought it should be, but a lot of people get a bit upset when you get naked, don't they?
Yeah. That was a cultural shift for me.
That was an interesting one. And just I loved the too many chefs in the kitchen. It was a fantastic evening.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful experience with the. We just had a pile of ingredients on the table, and we had several
teams.
We had 4 teams, and we had several phases of piracy and communism and capitalism, and the way that we
I seem to recall
exchanged
there was
food.
like a fairy team
There
as
was a
well.
fairy team,
Yeah.
and you know, it was quite chaotic in the selection of the food, but everyone just made this beautiful meal, and we sat down and had a kind of theatrical performance around the meal. And I loved this French family came in. They just arrived that day.
Ah, yeah.
And they literally just walked into this incredibly funny event, and it was quite crazy at the same time. And the two young kids yeah, I'd love to have been kind of with their goggles on. What did they think about this?
Yeah.
These quite wild people, very happy people. I think they loved it, to be honest. So that they were great events. And then, just to be honest, every time you sit down at the table, there's an expansive, interesting, kind of really important conversation. There's everyone that's here seems to really have a drive to make things better in the world, and there's people taking big actions to make things better in the world. There's lots of cool ideas coming out that it's just incredible to see. Yeah, as I said, I don't really feel so alone anymore in this.
It's really beautiful.
That's lovely.
Really beautiful. I guess that also segues quite naturally onto the question of what brings you hope for the future.
Yeah, it's important. It often seems like there's not much hope left in the world, but coming and spending time in a place like this makes you realise that there's huge amounts of hope. You just need to tune into a different frequency and take action. I think that's the key thing for me. Is it's all well and good talking about things, but you need to actually carry forward into action. And obviously that is what TDF is. It's manifesting the reality that people want to see.
It's definitely both a dream factory with conversations and ideas and visions, but like I said, also really trying to experiment and bring it into action. Like a playground is how I see it when you have a playground.
Yeah, and it's not the easiest place. You can see it's reasonably dry.
Yeah.
End of September here. But I think with the right systems, this can be really abundant. It's about setting the example, and that's what I've seen in the Alliance in Colombia.
Setting an example.
It's about showing existing examples that people can see, get immersed in, learn,
experience,
and then replicate or optimize, customize, adjust, and move into a new world. It feels like there's a lot of big cycles coming to an end right now. Big, you know, human historical cycles, economic cycles, election cycles, you know, global liquidity and debt cycles, all these different cycles of life coming to a closing point. And of course, after that, there's new cycles.
I love that you use the word cycles, which kind of reminds us that you could use the word crisis. You know, we have all these converging crises, but if you look at them as cycles, you will probably also have this one, and not just like crisis, collapse, stop there, but actually see it as an opportunity for a new rebirth and a transformation, a metamorphosis into what may.
Yeah, I think this is we're in a rhythm. An old, long rhythm. Things have been very difficult and very different before, and they may be very difficult and different in the future. But I think that things will continue, and it's about being flexible and adapting and trying to find the way. We have the number of tools that we have to get this right is enormous. One of the big learnings that I've had with the bioregional regenerative study is the acceptance that the current system's kind of in collapse. It's difficult to argue with it when you look at what's happening with democracy and governance and society and polarization and all of these different elements that appear to be. Ecology is obviously a huge one.
Yeah, you mentioned the social ones, but I guess you also have the obvious environmental and ecological ones.
Exactly. So I think that we have the wrong the systems for a different age. You know,
yeah,
like you could say that it wasn't the intention to cause this much destruction when they started, but now that we know, it's the problem isn't so difficult to unwind, but I do believe that it's possible. The difference now that you feel in the last few years since COVID is there's two big things that have changed, which is obviously the awakening of the consciousness of many people that there has to be a better way of doing things, and then governments and large institutions and the powers that be also realizing that things need to change. I mean, I'm on a group for the COP16 summit. It's business at COP16, and there's huge companies from Europe and the USA going to this summit, and many incredible movements, indigenous movements and regenerative movements, and just many good actors and people that obviously are going to that summit to offer help or ask for help, and just I think that networking at that summit will be incredible. So I think there's a lot of will now to see things improve and create new systems. I think that there is a new system that's needed, because the old system kind of, we've tried to fix it. You know, we've been battling to fix it. Is it fixable? I don't know. I think it needs to collapse, and then the new system is born.
Maybe it's compostable.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I'm working on with Simon's. It's a solution for campesinos. It's called Gaia Compost Capital that we're doing in Colombia.
Compost Capital.
So the idea is that we use potentially a blockchain. Either way, we raise microfinance for farmers to provide them the education to plant specific plants that can give good income after 1 year. There's a plant called Sacha Inchi that provides massive amounts of omega-3. It's quite a valuable resource. It grows really well in that ecosystem. Also then obviously with successive planting and syntropy to create a long-term agroforestry system for food and things like cacao and other, just a multitude of fruits and vegetables that grow very well in the Sierra Nevada.
I would be very happy to come visit that. Like I've heard all about this.
Yeah.
Both agroforestry and syntropic farming, and it just sounds so beautiful to like enter a landscape and a foodscape like that with that diversity.
Well, I mean that's what can be created here. It's just different plants and different techniques that will succeed here. Another part of that's something that's really been a new discovery for me is the biochar process, and the ability of biochar to not only provide income from the quite considerable carbon credits that come from using it if you use it in a certified manner, but the ability to sequester massive amounts of carbon in the soil, increase fertility, increase aeration, and just regenerate soils and provide higher yields. So it's that blend of education, agroforestry and biochar to help campesinos who might otherwise be slash and burn style practices that long term, I mean the sad thing is the reason that they do these things is because of economic desperation. The slash and burn, yes, it will create the ash from the fire is fertile, but the problem is once you burn all the trees down, the roots die, and then when the rain comes it washes all the topsoil in the river, and then the poor campesino in his economic desperation is left more economically desperate. So it's I think
short-term solution, long-term problem.
Yeah, I mean I think that another really important thing that I've noticed is that this is not really an ecological problem that we have. It's an education, cultural, mental health problem. It's really it's truly a human problem, and when it comes to economics as well, we have to give people that's where regenerative villages, especially when you have the dynamism, so people can have the opportunity to leave their normal lives, come and learn new ways of being in a regenerative village, maybe for a short period, because that's all they can do, because they have other commitments and family and whatever else, they live in a different place. But it allows that passing of knowledge to come, and just a week here for me has been enlightening and really expansive, and I would imagine it would be similar for a lot of visitors.
Yeah, so maybe entering into into rounding off with asking the question of what will you kind of bring home from this experience at TDF?
I think great connections, a newfound appreciation for a functioning regenerative community that is possible. And yeah, there's just like, we're planning to go to Antarctic on a sailing boat with a load of the guys from here, so I mean that's...
You're joining that one?
It's going to be amazing. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that is just very aligned with my kind of adventure spirit, and to be able to do a trip like that on a sailing boat with a bunch of like-minded people is pretty awesome. To somewhere like the Antarctic. I'm also looking at maybe some coaching with someone I met in the group, which is something that I think I really need to move on to the next step. And I think just having this network, I think that it's the power of the phone book, and the ability to be able to call on people and just know that everyone's aligned and that we can co-create and
network.
Yeah, I think that's my main takeaway from here. It's a pretty big one.
Beautiful. And exiting the conversation, what would you like to kind of leave whoever may be watching this with? Either advice, recommendations, or just any prompts sharing?
I think that call to action, come and visit TDF and see how good things can be. Things are not perfect here. Nowhere is perfect. There's lots of work to do here, but guess what? That's what it's all about, because you can come and be part of the creation of the place. I think people need to take the time to understand the problem. I think a lot of people are not willing to study what the issue is, and therefore they're not able to adjust their behaviours or help with the solutions. That would be my call to action.
Beautiful. And any further recommendations in where to dive in to get a more holistic and deep understanding of the problem?
I personally think that until I came to TDF, I would say that the model of bioregional regeneration is essential to regenerate at the landscape level. I'm talking about, as opposed to here at TDF, you've got 27 hectares with 30 to 40 to 50 people. You're actually connected with all of your neighbours who are going to be upriver from here. Any action that they take affects here. Any action that you take affects the people downriver. Everything is interrelated. The interrelated structure of reality. That's the name of a film that my friend Zachary's making.
Beautiful.
But yeah, I think so. Yeah, bioregional regeneration's a huge. It was an epiphany really for me. In writing angry letters and expecting things to be done, and just realizing that without alliance, a broad alliance of people, particularly in your bioregion, you're not really understanding problems correctly, and you don't really have the strength to do things, because you need lots of different experiences and skills to solve complex problems. But then, coming to the micro, somewhere like TDF, where you do have a lot of aligned souls that you can talk about these issues and really gain much deeper understanding of complex problems and find solutions and get contacts and find about gatherings and find about, just simply, the discovery of breathwork, quite simply, I think can change the world. I think that all global leaders should do ayahuasca, or at least mushrooms, but preferably ayahuasca, because they need to have a bit of suffering.
Yeah, in the right setting,
I think
and
that
all the
those-
things around.
Say again?
In the right set and setting with all the things around.
Of course,
just
do
like
it ceremonially, at least, if not clinically, so that it's they have the best outcomes. So yeah, I think that the change has to come from the community. It has to come from the grassroots. It's not going to come from. We can see what the top down has done. That's why we're here. It doesn't work. It's obviously a factor, and it's going to be necessary to engage with those huge forces, because they're not going to go away. But as I said, I think the collapse is coming, and new systems will be born. The people will decide. We still have the power. You gotta believe it.
let's leave with that.
Yep.
Beautiful. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.